Mate, so good to finally have you on Zoom. I've been wanting to catch up with you for a while. Jack, we went to school together, Moncton and Bath. What was a memory that you have of both of us? Because we were in different years. So, we played sport together, I think.
We played a bit. Yeah, we played a bit of cricket. I remember. You were fast bowler, and I was a bit of keeping to your fast
There we
bowling.
go. There we go. So we were a few years apart, but I do remember, yeah, training nets, games, things like that. So we crossed over, and yeah, it's so good to reconnect, especially in a month for. I've got a little prop, Movember,
Oh, love that. Absolutely
and
love
I've
that.
got my tash. I know you can grow a strong beard and tash, but really we're here to talk a little bit about mental health
Mm,
and talk about men and their health. And
yeah.
you're a personal trainer now after
Yes.
university and all of that sort of stuff. So,
All of that. Yeah.
how's that going? And how did you get into that world of mental health? Because that's something that you're really interested in.
Yeah. So very interesting. So being personal trainers ties in nicely with the mental health side because we all know that the power of exercise on mental health. But yeah, the job came from a very sentimental place because fitness came into my life when I was very depressed. And then in third year of university, I hadn't never been to the gym before. And then I decided to go with my friends. They made me go, to be honest. And then I just latched onto that feeling that fitness gave me after working out, that euphoric feeling of feeling good about yourself, feeling
Mm.
doing positive, but also that was the only time in my life where I felt good. So I latched onto that, mate. And over time, I became just obsessed with that feeling and what fitness gave me and how it made me feel. And it's just a lot more about I didn't realize that it was so powerful on like how we view ourselves and how we perceive ourselves compared to the physical side of it. The personal training side started from, being in a really bad way. So it has a real sentimental meaning to me with kind of where fitness has come from and where it is now. And that's kind of what I say to people to try and spread the awareness of not necessarily kind of just exercise or mental health, but men's mental health and what that means to us as men. Being more comfortable actually about how we feel inside and what the negative things that are going on inside our head. That it is okay to feel like that. To actually reach out to people, and obviously there's still a long way to go, but that's where it comes from me because I was in that space before. And now
Yeah.
I'm here comfortably talking about it. So it's just trying to, be positive with other people, with other men, just trying to make them understand it is okay, to be feeling not yourself at all. Baby steps, mate. Baby steps.
And the PT thing is obviously one thing that you eventually found as like a route, a really good way of maybe relieving stress. And as you said, that feeling and that buzz you get after lifting tin. But there's something before that step, before you find that, you
Yeah.
were probably, you said depression. So you obviously maybe what could be described in a dark place.
Mm.
For those people who don't understand what depression looks like, what was that experience like for you? And do you still have, symptoms of that?
Wow. Yeah, very good question, mate. So depression, it the reason it's so difficult is there's a lot of things going on, and one of the main things for me as well, you feel extremely trapped because before you do open up to people, obviously taking that initial step's the hardest part. But us as guys, what our biggest thing is, we always feel like we can do it by ourselves, and
Mm.
that is a load of rubbish. But every single man, when they are going through mental health issues, at the start thinks they can do it by themselves. So you feel trapped because you feel like no one can relate to you. You feel like an outsider. You feel
Yeah.
if you did open up, you'd be judged, you'd be laughed at, which sounds ridiculous. But when you're in such a vulnerable emotional headspace, you don't really see it from the other side. You're very kind of tunnel vision how you think. You don't see outside perspective. So that's why like people really struggle with that. But it was a daily battle. Every single day and thinking, this is how my life's going to be like forever. You don't see any positivity. which is the hardest bit, you know. Like a lot of things, you know, there's always that light at the end of the tunnel kind of metaphor. But with mental health, having depression, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You just see absolute darkness, and you don't know where to look. You feel trapped, you feel lost, and you think, where do I go? And I think that's what, you know, especially when you don't open up, that's what happens to a lot of it. It gets on top of them. And
Basically.
unfortunately, that's why, you know, that suicide rates are extremely high, because people, as soon as you do open up, it gives you that ray of light, because just having that cathartic release of getting your thoughts out there, you know, and a family and a good friend is always going to want to listen. That ray of light is something you can hang on to, and then it eventually kind of, that light shines brighter the more that spreads out, and the more you get your feelings out there. But it's just that kind of initial moment. So I would say it was just the fact that you feel so trapped, mate, and you feel
Mm.
there's nothing good in your life at the time, which sees some positivity, but you find it hard to.
That's so good. I think that's a nice way of looking at it. You know, I often um, look at depression, anxiety as quite a dark place for people. That's how often people describe it. But the way that you've described the response to that, to say, as we share our thoughts and our feelings with our friends and family, there's a bit of light that can seep into that. And the more that we're willing to share our thoughts and our feelings and the things that we're going through, the more that darkness is kind of, candle lights are popping up everywhere, and slowly that darkness is it doesn't go away forever. And depression can be diagnosed for a long time, but it seems like that's a really helpful tool. So that's really helpful. You're obviously you've gone through a mental health battle, something that you have experience of. Do you find, this is a personal question, but do you find that you still go through moments of that, and uh, or encounter people that do, and have things worked for you other than exercise and talking to people? Are there other things that work?
Yeah, good question. I don't have any symptoms of depression, but for example, the other week actually, you know, when the announcement of there was a second lockdown, you know, there was a lot of things going on in my life, and I didn't have an anxiety attack, but I've had anxiety attacks before. I had a sudden kind of all the symptoms of like a pre-anxiety attack, and it gave me flashbacks of like to all those years that I was struggling, and I actually started to kind of, you know, freak out a little bit. So that was a moment where I thought, okay, yeah, it was a wake up call to be like, you still got to be really proactive in how you manage it, and just because, you know, you come out of it, like for me now or never, I am extremely proactive in managing it, and ways apart from, you know, exercise and seeing a therapist like I did. That was a game changer for me. Therapy is, it's tough to admit you need a therapist, but actually once you get past that like initial bit, it opens up so many doors into actually pushing forward and making progress. But I'd say a lot, actually, Jacob, at the moment as well, apart from all of that, is the fact that what I've been open to is more experiences where I'm thinking, okay, I haven't tried that before, but I'm going to try it now. So, for example, things like, you know, a bit of meditation I do. And for example, right now, my room is immersed in plants and nature, but little things that I never did before that I now do now to help my mental health, and they all help. And I'm not saying, you know, that works for everyone, but there's always stuff which works for some people, and it's just trying to like experiment to see what works for you. And I think that's what we just got to be open and willing to kind of look for and seek, because a lot of people aren't open to try new things. They see one thing, it doesn't work for them, they try one thing and they're like, right, nothing's going to work for me, and they automatically shut all the doors off, when actually it's the perspective of, okay, that didn't work for you, but you're still one step closer of actually finding something that does work for you, because you know that doesn't. So it can be like a process elimination, but it's just being open.
Man, I'm really interested in the therapy that you spoke about. Therapy is a massive stigma. I'd say it's a taboo. I think you even called it that. And I've never really understood it because I've never gone to that. I've seen there's counseling, there's therapy, there's medical procedures. But if you don't mind, just touch very briefly and on, you know, your therapeutic experience.
So the way therapy was so good, mate, was, you know, when I spoke to my parents and opened up to my friends and family, you know, I felt that was huge progress. But then when when you talk about it to your friends and family don't initiate certain thought patterns in your head that allow you to really understand what's going on. Whereas a therapist, you know, she would, and she was very good, she would really listen. And because obviously she's a trained professional, she would ask me questions and reflect and give me perspectives that my friends and family couldn't. And that would actually allow me to really understand more what was going on inside my head. Because when you are depressed, it's a cloud. Your head is a fuzz. You don't know what's going on. But actually, the thought patterns she triggered like allow me to think about other perspectives that I would never have thought about, that my friends and family
So
never
good.
triggered. So it basically opened my head up and my brain up to a new way of thinking about my situation, my life perspective. And actually that really helped me push on and be more open to, you know, searching for other ways and trying to get myself better.
And you obviously had some other people in your life that helped you out. You've had a
Mm.
therapist. I know you mentioned your mum and your sister a lot,
Yeah.
and family is really important. Um, and some people who are really isolated right now really may feel like they don't have anyone close to them. So it's
Mm.
about reaching out to mates, really, isn't it? It's about
Definitely.
reaching out. But there's also the flip to that about those that have a bit more capacity to notice people who are isolated and
Mm.
to check in and to ask the right questions. I think that's really important. But there is a stigma attached to chatting with your mates who might
Mm.
be suffering behind the scenes to talk
Yeah.
about mental health. Why, maybe from your experience, do you think there is a stigma around mental health? I know you've touched on it a little bit.
Mm.
And what can we do about it?
Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because you know, us as guys, we have this whole like manly persona, which for me is a load of absolute waffle. Because you know,
I've got
there's
my
this
snow
whole
globe here, mate. Look at this.
love it. Yeah, there's this whole kind of like manly persona that we're supposed to have, and a manly persona. I say it in inverted commas because it's such a load of rubbish. You know, this whole thing of, you know, men can get on with it by us. You know, that's might what been in our parents and our grandparents' generation, but times are changing. You know,
Mm.
and we have to leverage on how we are as people. And there's this whole manly thing of not opening up. We can get on with it. You know, men be tough. If you're not tough, you know, you're not deemed unattractive to the opposite sex. You know, if you're seen as more vulnerable, we're not going to find you attractive.
Yeah,
There's so
such
many
a good
different
point.
sides pulling in on that. I think that's ingrained into our subconscious. But actually, for me, I think it's a far more manly, if I say, thing to do to actually understand and open up and actually that you are vulnerable, because you're actually, when you open yourself up to being more vulnerable, you're actually saying to people, I do need help. But it's
Yeah.
you confronting your challenges and your difficulties head on. Whereas when you don't open up, you're kind of shying away and you're backing away from it, whether you realize it or not.
Jack, you mentioned about trying something new, encouraging men, especially, just to give something else a go. I know that for me personally, exercise is vital. I love team sports. I love being involved in team, but I also haven't found the love of running, but I've valued going for a run, not only for my health benefits, but just generally, just it gives me a bit of spark of life in these times. But you're a personal trainer, but you also run. Yeah, you have your own company. Can you
Mm.
tell us a little bit about that and what you do and how maybe people can get stuck in?
Yeah, so well, if anyone wants to get involved over the lockdown, I do live hit classes on Instagram once a week, and I did them first lockdown, and they were a big hit only because, you know, I did it start actually because this woman approached me and said, look, I'm by myself, you know, I'm really scared for my mental health, and that really struck a chord. And I wasn't going to do hits originally, but I was like, I've got to do something here. So ever since then, I just put them on. And actually, even when the gyms were open, I was putting them on. So they are still going on, one live hits a week. So feel free to join in with those. There's no weighted stuff. It's all body weight because that makes it more inclusive for all. But yeah, like on top of that, I do a lot of work in the gym, but also actually I've got my little business outside where I train clients in Hammersmith and Notting Hill, Maida Vale, around the parks
Very
there. Like,
nice.
especially just keeping that going. You know, a lot of people want that extra motivation over lockdown because I think a lot of people, they need motivation. By that, they put a bit of skin in the game because that makes them go. You know, that brings their accountability to it. So that's kind of what I do, and I really enjoy that. And when it's your passion, you love doing it. So that's kind of what I do. So I hope that helps. But yeah, if anyone wants to get involved, especially in the live hits, feel free to join. One this Sunday, actually, 10:30 a.m. I know it's a Sunday, but you always feel better after it. So yeah, hopefully people can find that of benefit.
Great, thanks. And I will post all your details at the bottom of this, or I'll find it somewhere. Just want to say a massive thank you to your openness, your honesty, and your advice. I think you've come through a dark tunnel, and you've been able to reflect on that journey. So I'm hoping that this video will really encourage those that watch it, or they'll be able to pass on to someone that might need it at this time. So Jack, thanks, mate. You're a superstar.
Appreciate that. Love it. Absolutely, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope the rest of lockdown goes well, and that you can
yes. Let's hope. Being positive together.
That's it. Mate, you're a star. Thank you.